A common question in this horrible virus that has infected the entire world is when will it end? Obviously, we're suffering great economic hardships with all the restaurants, the theaters, tourism, airline industry, and this is going to affect so much with people staying at home. Even dog walkers are being affected by this. People staying at home, less driving, car repair industry, tire repair. There's just so much things being affected by this. Some analysts have predicted our economy is going to contract 14%. There's predictions that at least 2 million people are going to apply for unemployment. And of course, the common question, when is this going to end? They've really tightened controls as far as social interactions, how many people are allowed to gather together. And of course, this has affected weddings and so many graduations, so many common gatherings can't happen right now. So when's it going to end? I found this interesting graph under sporadic social distancing implementation where there may be times where we open up the valve and then times where we close it again. Now, what's this going to do for businesses? How are businesses going to operate? And that's a big fear right now. For small businesses, such as restaurants, can they shut down for a few months? If they shut down for a few months, how many small businesses will be able to come back? How many small businesses are going to shut down for a few months and then be shut down forever? And then obviously, how are all the workers going to deal with this? And right now, there's a lot of stimulus plans being talked about, being implemented to help people. Well, what would it look like if you look at this graph somebody drew up if when the numbers came down from this implementation of social distancing, quarantine, and then at a certain point we open restaurants and theaters back up, but then it only takes one person to start this trend all over again. I was looking at some models at the way this transmits, and this is more contagious than the flu. And with the planes are basically what transmitted this to all corners of the globe. And under these, if you look at how contagious this is, and with airline travel, it was predicted that one person in 60 days can infect the population of the entire planet. So we put these restrictions in place, we get the numbers down, and of course, we have to look at what's the capacity of our hospitals, how many hospital beds. This talks about weekly ICU units, intensive care units. We only have so many beds, and now we're bringing in the military to increase that capacity. But even with that increase, there's a certain capacity that our hospitals can handle that we don't want to go over, because if we do go over, obviously that's going to result in a lot of deaths. So we're going to be looking at that to kind of dictate when we can try to go back to normal, have bigger gatherings, open up restaurants, which there's going to be a lot of pressure on once we get the numbers down because of these implemented social distances to be able to open these things up again. But then you open these things up, and of course, then the numbers start going up, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, those ICU units, they're starting to fill up again. So now we got to tighten things back. So what you're looking at with this graph that somebody put together could be the new normal for the next 18 months. We're still waiting to find out how much heat, when the summer months come, are going to hopefully help get those numbers down. But we could be looking at, okay, the numbers came down. There's a lot of pressure to open up these businesses. People need to start working again. So, okay, we restrict it. We open things back up. Oh, but then the number goes back up. So now we have to close the valve, close the restaurants again, close the big gatherings. The numbers go back down. Okay, open them back up, then the numbers go back up, and we could be looking at that trend. So for workers, it could be working for a month, collecting unemployment for a month, working for a month. For the businesses, especially small businesses, how does your business model handle that kind of constant disruption and opening up and closing? A lot of restaurants are moving to pickup service. They're still having to lay off a lot of people, and they're reducing their hours, and their pickup service is at least having some business, but not nearly as much business as when they had pickup service and in-room dining, especially when the weather gets nicer and you have so many restaurants with patio seating. But this could be the new normal. So we'll see what happens with this. This probably will be it until we can get that vaccine, which could be a year to 1.5 years before not only we create it, but we're able to produce it in large numbers and start injecting a whole lot of the population, or other means, maybe antivirals, where we can get these symptoms more under control. But this could be the new normal for the next 18 months. I wanted to take a trip in history a little bit and talk about the Spanish flu. 1918 killed an estimated something like 100 million people, like 50 to 150 million people, pretty much anywhere where you live in. If you look in the archives of your newspapers to 1918, you'll see how this affected what other town you're living in. I come from Chicago, and in Chicago, something like 10,000 people died. The nurses and doctors were getting infected. They were dying. So the hospitals were completely getting overrun. And this is the tale of two cities. So what we're going through isn't new, but it's pretty much the first thing that's happened, that this kind of things happened since 1918. But this is the difference between two cities, Philadelphia and St. Louis. So Philadelphia just kind of said, let's go ahead and have this parade that draws 200,000 people together. And then the results were completely disastrous. Weeks later, more than 4,500 people died from the virus. So not just the people in intensive care are sick, 4,500 deaths. And St. Louis, and they don't mention the person responsible here, detecting its first cases, somebody had the wits to realize how serious this was, closed businesses, schools, churches, courtrooms, libraries, which I can tell you were not popular decisions. But this is why you might see St. Louis in the news, because so many less deaths from implementing these measures. So we have been here before, and we know that this works. But for the state of our economy to try to not destroy everything and reach a position where we just can't come back to where we were, how long can we have these policies in place and all these businesses shut down? And then if we do start them back up again, how long before we have to shut things down again when the numbers go back up? So found this fascinating. It kind of makes sense, and just wanted to kind of share my thoughts. Please share yours. This is Jim Wall. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Until next time.
Cisco, do we have to leave all our good friends now?
Only until next time, Pancho. Adios, amigos.